Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports here from our Newcastle News sports account via YouTube. I'm Ron Poniewasz, and I'm joined by Mr. Larry Kelly. And as always, Larry is a member of the Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George law firm. He's an assistant baseball coach at Penn State Shenango, the former varsity baseball coach at Shenango, and he's also on Ralph Blendo's boys basketball staff as an assistant coach. Mr. Kelly, thank you for joining us here. We have some national things to go over. So let's start here. Our first topic, we're going to talk about the James Franklin firing, Penn State University from last week. And, you know, you're a Pitt guy. I'm a West Virginia guy. And Penn State fans, they finally find out what the rest of us, live like.
Well, this is good guy, bad guy sports. Are you going to be the good guy or the bad guy on this? Because even though you're the bad guy in most of these topics, you're pretty good at it. But I might be the bad guy in this one because I think Penn State made a mistake and really come out of this with egg on their face for a lot of reasons. Number one, if you listen to the national pundits, they're all saying James Franklin should have been fired. Well, guess what? I don't think he should have. The coach had his team one game away from the national championship game last year, one play away from the national championship game last year. And now he starts the season 3-3 and you get fired. His record at Penn State was 104-45 over 12 seasons, 64-36 in the conference. He had 5 10-win seasons. The last 3 in a row, 22, 23, 24 seasons, and a Big Ten championship. And all of a sudden you get fired, because you can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. Well, I got news for you, Ronnie. There's a lot of teams that can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. And I've coached for over 25 years in baseball and hoops. And I can tell you that coaching has its place, but it's all about the players. It's all about the players. And maybe Michigan and Ohio State had better players than Penn State throughout the years. Not that Penn State doesn't have good ones. They have great players, but maybe not as good as those two schools. So first and foremost, I don't think he should be fired. But then when you add that to the fact that his payout is $50 million, $50 million. And when you add to the fact that they just rebuilt the press box at Beaver Stadium to the tune of $700 million, they've spent $750 million on their football program. $750 million. Now, normally that's okay, except that they closed 7 branch campuses last year. The budget for the branch campuses, all 7, is less than 0.5% of Penn State's total budget. In the Pennsylvania State University, I know they want to win football games. I get it. But shouldn't their priority be to educate students in the state of Pennsylvania? Here's what bothers me. And I know this firsthand. If you are a really good student, you can go to Penn State, Shenango Valley campus, where I coach baseball, for less than $10,000 a year tuition. And most of the kids who go there commute, they live at home. And so at the end of 4 years, they get a Penn State degree for less than $50,000. And when you consider the cost of education today, I read online that if you want to go 4 years to Penn State, Maine, room and board, and 4 years at Penn State, Maine, it's $156,000. Ronnie, not every young man and young woman in our Commonwealth has $156,000 to get that Penn State degree. Some of them need these branch campuses where they can get the same degree. The one that says Penn State, it doesn't say Penn State branch campus, for under $50,000. And so I find it troubling that they can justify paying James Franklin, who maybe shouldn't have been fired, $50 million buyout. I find it troubling that they can fix the press box for $700 million, but yet they close 7 of these branch campuses that are in rural communities where you have a lot of young men and women who don't have the financial wherewithal to go to the main campus. And it's just troubling to me. What is the purpose of the Pennsylvania State University? Is it to win football games, or is it to educate the youth of our state?
Those are the people that you need to be addressing when you ask me, unless you've got more money than you know what to do with. 156,000, those are the type of people that you need to address, asking them if they've got more money than they know what to do with. That's the first one.
Well, that's the cost of a Penn State education. I read it online. I know you can't read everything online that you believe, but room, board, and Penn State tuition at main campus is 156 over 4 years.
Yeah, obviously it has to be something within the fan base or the university itself where they're going to tell you expectations, because I'm going to rattle off a bunch of schools, and you can stop me whenever you want. Kent State, Akron, Temple, Rutgers, Nevada, Florida International, Florida Atlantic, Nevada, Fresno State, San Diego State, Talladega Tech, whatever. You don't think any number of those schools would kill to be 10-2 or 11-1?
How about Pitt? Let's start with Pitt.
Yeah.
Give us 3 10-win seasons. We haven't had 3 10-win seasons. Let me see. Since the early 80s, the Reagan administration is the last time we had 3 10-win seasons in a row. James Franklin in 12 years had 5 of those, 3 in a row. One game away from the national championship, and they fired a guy in the middle of the season when his team was 3-3. I get it. They lost 2 games they shouldn't have lost, but these are college kids. And I know I'm in the minority, but what bothers me most, they can spend $750 million on a football program, and they can't keep these branch campuses open to create opportunity for rural kids in our state to get a Penn State education.
We are not the ones to ask each other. This would be more of a question for somebody in the higher ups at Penn State. However, they lost in double overtime to Oregon, basically throwing haymakers against Oregon. It was a back and forth game, double overtime. So they hung in there with Oregon. Granted, it was a home game. Now you go on the road to UCLA, a game that they were, I think, laying 24.5 to a winless team. And they lost that one, but they got way behind, came back, and they had the ball with a chance to, I think, either tie with an extra point, or if they would have been gutsy and went for 2. And I hate, that's what I hate about 2-point conversions. People mismanage 2-point conversions. But let's say they win that game. You have Northwestern at home and they lost it, or vice versa. Pick one of those games that they lose. If they go 1-2 in those games, is he still fired? If they lose to UCLA and come back home and hold on and beat Northwestern, is he still fired, or is it or does he keep his job with going at least 1-2? Would he still have a job if they would have won one of those games?
You know, Ronnie, the tail wags the dog. You know, with NIL money imperative in any program, you know, the big donors go to the AD and say, you get rid of James Franklin or I'm going to quit writing checks. And the AD gets rid of him because he feels pressure from the fan base and the donor base. First of all, those threats, in my view, are hollow threats. The guys that write big checks, they write big checks. They want to see their school win, and they're going to still write big checks, you know, when the time comes. But I thought this was an unjust firing, and I am in the minority because every national pundit that I heard and commentator said, oh, yeah, his record against, I don't know, top 10 teams or was top 12-25 against top 25 opponents and 3-17 against top 10 opponents. You know, I don't know, Ronnie. I don't know. It's all about the players, my brother. Maybe those teams just have better players. And it's not like Penn State gets blown out in these games. You know, they're always close games. But I don't think he should have been fired. Not in the middle of the season. And then when you're spending all that money on the football program and closing branch campuses, that troubles me. I still believe that education, when you're the Pennsylvania State University, your number one priority should be to educate as many students in the state of Pennsylvania that you can. And some students don't have 156,000 to go to main campus, stay there, eat there, live there. These branch campuses are an opportunity for them to live at home, pay a reduced tuition, and get a Penn State degree. That's just me.
Right. I do agree with you. I was shocked that he got fired when he did. I thought if it was going to happen, it would be after the season, whether that be a bowl game win or loss or something. I thought they would evaluate it at that point. I thought it was, a little bit premature to do that now. And yeah, I get it. His record against the big boys wasn't very good, and he lost the two cupcakes this year, a winless UCLA team and a Northwestern team that's very rarely any good. But the other one I would like to know is the schedule that a school makes out, in terms of, let's say, Penn State football, for instance. How much of that does James Franklin have on his plate? Because playing Villanova and Nevada and I think Florida International, I'm trying to think offhand who all they played in non-conference action. That does nothing for you. And then all of a sudden you got to go host Oregon, which is, as you call it, a big boy pants game. You better be ready for that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He probably has some say-so in the schedule. I'm sure he does. But Penn State, they can schedule Summit Academy and still get 103,000 at Beaver Stadium to watch the game. So, these are like exhibition games. But again, James Franklin, in 12 years, went to 6 New Year's Day bowl games. That is the center ring of the circus.
Yep.
I think Pitt's been the one in the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. One. How many has West Virginia been to in the last 20, 30 years? Penn State's been to 6.
Yeah.
Isn't that enough? I mean, come on, man. It's just me. I get it. I get it. There's a lot of pressure to win.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I disagree with the firing.
Yeah.
I really disagree with it. When you're spending $750 million on your football program and closing branch campuses, it's disappointing.
I don't know that I can name too many more than one for West Virginia. The one I can remember is the year that Pitt upset them in that 13-9 game. West Virginia ended up playing in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia and upset them. They also lost in the Sugar Bowl. They beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. They lost to Florida in the Sugar Bowl, 41-7. The year Jake Kelchner played for West Virginia, and I believe that's the year they upset Miami of Florida. I think it was 93. So those are two that I can remember for West Virginia.
Yeah, two, and you're going back 30 years, cuz.
Yeah.
Yes, you understand. So again, who's going to be the next coach? Be careful what you wish for.
Right.
I've said that often.
I was shocked because on Sunday afternoon, I think it might have been the end of the first half or something, right around the NFL games, I grabbed my work phone and I logged into the work account for email just to see, if anything's coming in or whatever. And I think somebody, for a representative from Penn State's sports information, there was an email slug, something like a new direction for Penn State football program or something along those lines. And I thought, well, what the heck's this? And I open it and I start reading. And I'm thinking, well, this is an actual email from an official Penn State account. So then I get on Twitter and type his name. Sure enough, he got fired. That just totally blew me away. Sure, you blew 2 games against winnable teams, but really in this part of the season, boy, that's a shock.
Yeah, you're only as good as your last game. I guess that was never more true than it is at the Pennsylvania State University.
That's right. Larry, let's transition over to baseball here because we have a few topics, and I know you're a baseball guy. So, Larry, first off, we'll introduce it this way. Tonight is the anniversary. It's not a pleasant one. As we record this, it is October 14th. The anniversary is October 14th, And then when I tell you the year, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. October 14th, 1992.
Francisco Cabrera. I couldn't sleep that night. I can recount the inning batter by batter. It's indelibly etched in my mind.
Yep.
Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat thinking about that game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What's your question? Why do you want to get me aggravated more so than I'm already aggravated? Go ahead.
Aileen Cubwell always told me, don't poke the bear. I'm poking the bear. I'm poking the bear.
Go ahead.
Barry Bonds and Clayton Kershaw, to me, they're one and the same. They're great in the regular season. They're garbage in the postseason. Barry Bonds was non-existent for those Pirates teams. Sure, he got more chances when he was with the San Francisco Giants, and I think he exceeded a little more, but succeeded a little more. But I don't know how you can avoid not doing that when he was terrible with the Pirates. Well, Clayton Kershaw is phenomenal in the regular season. Give him the ball in the playoffs, and he's like 4th of July fireworks. He can't. He just gets lit up like crazy.
I don't have any explanation for Clayton Kershaw. I really don't. I mean, this cat is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But if you look at his playoff record, it is not good.
No.
It just did. Now, I know he had a relief appearance last week in the divisional round, and he got hit up pretty good. But it's hard to ask a guy his age, to come out of the bullpen when he doesn't pitch in the bullpen all year, to come out and be effective in that role. But yeah, Clayton Kershaw's playoff record. Now, it isn't quite as bad as what you say. I'm looking at it right here. He has a 13-13 playoff record.
Yep.
But his ERA is 4.63, which is way higher than his career ERA. So he wasn't as bad as Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds' playoff record was somewhat horrific. I mean, Clayton Kershaw is a 500 pitcher in the playoffs. He's way better than that during the season. And again, his 4.63 ERA is not what his career ERA was. It was much lower than that, if I'm not mistaken. But Barry Bonds, no, his playoff record is not good, and it was really bad with the Pirates. Now, the one thing about baseball, and I'll say this, they can pitch around you. They can pitch around you and make it very difficult for you to be successful. Barry Bonds had a 245 batting average in the playoffs. And I think most of those hits occurred
with San Francisco.
With the Giants. Yeah. He was, let me see here, for the Pirates, if I can get his batting average here. Well, for the Pirates, his 1990, he was 3 for 18. 91, he was 4 for 27. Terrible. And in 92, he was 6 for 23. But in all of those at bats, right? So we're talking about 70 at bats. About 70 at bats. Extra base hits, 3. 3 extra base hits and 70 at bats. RBIs for the Pirates. You ready? How many ribbies he had?
Well, he's 0.
He had 3. So there you go. It was not good. And he was MVP in 2 of those years. So, maybe they were pitching around him. I don't know. But it was disappointing, to say the least, his playoff record. And that was a major reason why the Pirates couldn't get over the edge, couldn't be successful.
It was some sort of a documentary that I was watching a while back. And matter of fact, it might not even been a documentary. MLB Network does a countdown of the top X amount of greatest games, where they'll show the game and they'll interview. They'll have people in studio. And for that game, the 1992 game, they had Andy Van Slyke, maybe Mark Lemke, or whoever it was for the Braves. Maybe it was Sid Bream. It might have been Sid Bream. And Sid Bream or Andy Van Slyke made the comment that Bonds was saying, if you guys can just, get me there to the World Series, carry me there, I'll be able to carry you in the World Series. And Van Slyke, whether he said this to Bonds or not, was basically, how about you play like a MVP now and get us to the World Series instead of this 0 for 4 every night? And he's right.
Yeah, there was no love lost. I did find Bonds hit 167 in 1990, and his on base percentage was 375. He hit 148 in 91, and his on base percentage was 207. Now, I will say this in 92, and again, they're probably pitching around him. He hit 261, but his on base percentage was 433. So he was getting on base via the walk. But the difference is no extra base hits, Ronnie. His slugging percentage 167 in 90, 185 in 91, and 435 in 92. The guys that slug big time are over 500. So yeah, he wasn't stellar. Were they pitching around him? Maybe, but listen, your big time players got to be big time if you're going to win championships. That's just how it goes. I've coached so many years in so many different sports, and this is especially true in baseball. If my big guns are better than yours, we're probably going to win.
Yeah.
And if my big guns are not better than yours, we're probably not going to win. When we won the Whippeal Championship, Shane Cato, I pitched a Division I pitcher for Seton LaSalle. My big gun was better than theirs. And that's why you win. And Barry Bonds he wasn't good enough for the Pirates to win. Now, Kershaw, again, 13-13 isn't as bad as what you think it is. 13-13 is what he was. And, but he wasn't the same Clayton Kershaw that he was during the season. No question about that.
Baseball, Larry, has certainly changed in my lifetime, and I'm sure you would agree with that. As a 52-year-old, I go back to the extreme late 70s of my memories, and I can remember, coming home from school, getting off the school bus, and in the 80s, and you're watching league championship series playoffs and things like that. Remember, back then, you only had 2 teams from each league going to the playoffs. There was the league championship series and then the World Series.
Yes.
So things have evolved, but I do not like the state of baseball right now with quote unquote openers. Last week, you had the Toronto Blue Jays up 2-1 at Yankee Stadium playing in a quote unquote closeout game. And the Blue Jays can't be bothered by sending an actual pitcher that had pitched maybe 30 or 35 games as a starter with 200 and some innings. They said, you know what? We're going to pitch this guy for about an inning or two, and then we're going to pitch that guy for maybe an inning or two, and then we're going to pitch that guy for an inning or two. Really? You don't have one guy on your roster that can eat 5 or 6 innings that's an actual pitcher and not some stooge at the end of the bench.
Well, but wait a minute. How did it work out for the Blue Jays?
But that's not baseball.
Yeah, but how did it work out, Ronnie? Baseball has changed. I mean, pitch counts. Bob Gibson had more complete games in one season than the St. Louis Cardinals have had in the last 15. I mean, it's changed. It's changed. Now, do you like it? You might not like it, but it's changed. There was 2 years ago, Tampa Bay, they went with an opener every 4th day.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. As a baseball player, and again, you look at the statistics, the starting pitchers, they very seldom allow them to go through the order 3 times. Why? The 3rd time through the order, they're getting tattooed.
Yeah.
So if you only get to see that opener 1 time, and the next pitcher you get to see 1 time, there's a little analytical science behind this. Now, do you like it? No. And I like old school baseball too. Listen, last night, when they took Blake Snell out of the game in the 9th inning, when he faced the minimum, through 8 innings, he faced 24 batters. Yep. The only other guys that have ever done that in a playoff game were Don Larson and Roy Halladay. And I think those guys pitched a perfect game in a no-hitter. He was at 100 pitches. I'm letting this guy go out there for the ninth inning. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. They couldn't smell this guy. Dodgers brought the relievers in. They almost blew the game.
Yeah.
So I get it. Listen, I coached baseball a long time at the collegiate level. What happens after 100 pitches when you get a little fatigue? Your velo doesn't go down. Your location gets spotty. And in the pros, you can throw 98, but if you throw it in the middle of the plate, they're going to tattoo it. And so when you lose location and that 98 is no longer on the outside corner at the knees and it's in the middle of the plate, you're probably going to get hit. But again, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. I'm sending Blake Snell out there for the ninth inning yesterday.
Yeah, in terms of that with openers, and people say that's the state of baseball today. It might be the state of baseball today, but number one doesn't mean I have to like it.
No, you don't like anything. That's why you're the bad guy in good guy, bad guy sports. It's easy to get you triggered. It's a little harder to get me triggered.
And number two, it doesn't mean I have to agree with it either.
Well, you don't agree with pretty much anything I say, so why should this be any different? But look, I'm kind of with you. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. Now, you can tell when a guy starts losing his location. He gets behind in the count. He's not throwing strikes. Blake Snell was like a machine last night. He was strike one on every batter. I'm letting them go out there for the ninth inning. They almost blew the game. They brought those relievers in and they were walking guys and getting tattooed. And yeah, it was one of those. Dodgers are winning 2-1. And it looks like Teoscar Hernandez hit a home run. So drove in one run. So again, playoff baseball is good stuff.
Teoscar Hernandez is built for playoff baseball. He's quality in playoff baseball. And the funny thing about this Brewers-Dodgers series, they played 6 times in the regular season, and the Brewers won all 6.
6-0. Now, How about you want Shohei Ohtani on your team?
Depends on what part of the season it is.
Well, he's 0 for 3 tonight, which means he's 2 for 32 in the playoffs.
Right.
I probably want him on my team. I do. I'm not ready to call him a choker. I'm just not. But again, they're pitching around this guy. They intentionally walked him twice last night. And, but there are some guys, Freddie Freeman, the bigger the game, the better he gets, it looks like, and there are just some guys that, but again, I'm an old timer. Willie Stargell in the 71 World Series, I think hit 100. In the 79 World Series, he was the MVP. He set the record for extra base hits. So, but then again, Roberto Clemente played in 2 World Series and he hit in 14 consecutive games. So I don't know about that. As a player, and I still play, I'm an old guy, I still play. I never kept a batting average in my whole life. Like, I don't know what I hit in college or high school, but as I got older, I would keep it when we got to the playoffs because I wanted to know how I did when it counted the most. So I don't know. I don't know if there's, I don't know about that. Are some guys big game players? Are some guys not? Are some guys chokers? That's a tough word to use. As I said, Clayton Kershaw was 13-13. However, his career ERA was 2.53. His playoff ERA, 4.37, almost double. So there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. Larry, when I do this to you, you know what that means?
That means timeout. What's that mean?
It means I'm challenging a ball or a strike. Another thing that I can't stand that they're putting in next year, and what bothers me about announcers is they'll say, if a pitch is called a ball and it should have been a strike or vice versa, they always say, well, next year that'll get remedied. No, it won't. You get 2 challenges a game. Now, if you keep getting them right, you're okay. But if you go, hey, I'm challenging, and the umpire upholds it, guess what? I'll be frank with you. You're SOL. You're going to run out of them at some point. So there's going to be a time where, an announcer says, well, I guess they wish they wouldn't have challenged that one in the 3rd inning.
Well, here's the deal. I don't mind the challenge of balls and strikes because it could change the game. Last night in the 1st inning, Randy Arozarena was struck out I mean, it was just a bad call. He
Yeah.
ends up getting hit. They walk the next guy, and Julio Hernandez hits a 3-run homer, changed the entire inning. But what I don't like, and I'll agree with you, I don't like the replay on the plays in the field. I miss the manager going out there and arguing with the ump. I do. I miss him. I miss Earl Weaver turning his hat around and getting in the ump's face. I miss it. That was part of baseball. And, you know, if they are going to do replay, it was meant to overturn obvious errors, not a play where the guy is either safe or out by this much. They should get one look at it. If it isn't obvious, play on a field stands. So I'm half there with you. I don't mind the ball and strike, you know, because you're not going to see it very often. But I do miss the arguments in the field over out or safe. I do. I got to be honest. That was part of the romance of baseball.
And lastly, we will talk about a hit by pitch issue. Last night, a Milwaukee Brewers batter was batting with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and a pitch was riding in on him, and he jumped out of the way. That's natural reaction. Everybody else is saying he should have wore one with the team or took it for the team. Now, here's the interesting thing, Larry. Remember back about the late 90s, the Pittsburgh Pirates had a catcher by the name of Jason Kendall. What did he do best? Well, he had a nice batting average, but if he's standing there, sometimes he's going like this. He's leaning into it. Well, you know what I would do if I was the umpire? And apparently I've been watching too many games with my dad. I would say, oh, no, you're back in the batter's box. You showed no sign of getting out of the way. You're back in the batter's box.
That is a rule. That is not a rule in Major League Baseball, but it is a rule at the collegiate and high school level. You have to make an attempt to get out of the way. And here's the other part of the rule that the people don't know. If the umpire believes that you intentionally got hit, in other words, stuck your elbow out, it's an automatic strike call.
Yeah.
We won a game one time where, you know, the guy stuck his elbow out, he gets hit, the umpire says, no, you stay here. And by the way, it's strike 3. It's an automatic strike call, regardless of whether the pitch is a strike or not. In high school and in college, you have to make an attempt to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And many times, the guy doesn't make an attempt. You know, he doesn't get hit on purpose, but he doesn't make an attempt to get out of the way, and the umpire just calls it a ball. He doesn't allow him to take his base.
Now, see, I didn't know that about Major League Baseball. Has that been a rule like that since the dawn of time, or did they restructure it recently?
No, that's the rule in high school and college.
Right.
That is not the rule in Major League Baseball.
But did they take it out of Major League Baseball or alter it recently? Because I swear I saw it in Major League Baseball once. I know I saw it in college in a West Virginia tournament game last year, College World Series game, I believe, against North Carolina. A guy for West Virginia leaned into a pitch, and the umpire told him, "Get back in the batter's box. You're not going to first base on that." And
yeah, I can't answer that question, but I don't believe it's the rule in Major League Baseball. I know it is in high school and in college, and if you intentionally get hit, it's an automatic strike regardless of where the ball's at. If
Right.
you don't make an attempt to get out of the way and you get hit, it is just a ball, and you don't get to take your base.
Let's say it is. Let's say you're correct, and it is not a rule in Major League Baseball. Should they put that in?
Yeah, I believe they should, but there's very few guys intentionally getting hit in a major league game. These guys are throwing 98 miles an hour. Very few guys intentionally getting hit. Very few. I haven't seen it in a long time, you know, in a major league game.
Well, last night would have been a time to get intentionally hit with the bases loaded and the time you're representing the tying run, or the guy on third base is representing the tying run. You know, that's first and foremost.
Well, again, that was instinct. You know, your first instinct is to get out of the way. It is, and then I'm sure the guy was sick about it because the next pitch he swung at a pitch that was 3 feet over his head.
Right.
All right. Now, I just looked it up. Apparently, it is the rule. Batters are required to attempt to avoid being hit by a pitch in MLB. They have to make an attempt. Failure to make a reasonable effort to avoid the ball, especially if the pitch is outside of the strike zone, results in the play being called the ball, and the batter is not awarded first base. If the pitch is in the strike zone, the call is a strike, and that's pretty much it. But so I think the difference, a batter who deliberately leans to a pitch is not making an attempt to avoid it. I think the difference is in high school and in college, if you intentionally get hit, even if the pitch is not a strike, it's called a strike in the college and high school game. I don't think that's the rule in the pros.
Yeah,
But
I was pretty sure that I had seen that happen at least once in Major League Baseball. I knew for a fact it happened in a West Virginia College World Series game last year against, I think, North Carolina. So I do know for a fact it happened in a West Virginia game. Now, here's an interesting question for you, Larry. Being that you coach basketball and you coach baseball, would you say it's on par, being that we've had this discussion regarding technical fouls, intentional fouls? It's late in the basketball game, and the coach says, "You got to foul. You got to foul. We got to put this guy on the line." They're intentionally fouling. Intentionally, you could call an intentional foul anytime late in the game because why? They're trying to foul you. Same with intentionally hit by pitch. If that guy for the Brewers had nudged his calf or leg into the ball, couldn't you call that intentionally trying to get hit?
well, apparently you can,
Yeah.
but a good basketball official at the end of the game, when he knows you're trying to put the other team on the line, does not call an intentional foul. I remember one time I was coaching a game and we're down. We fouled the guy and basically just grabbed him by the waist to put him on the line. This young official said, "That's an intentional foul." I said, "Yeah, you're right. But why are you calling it? All we want to do is put the guy on the line. What are you doing?" So again, there's a little discretion in officiating any sport. You got to use your common sense. You got to use your common sense.
How do you separate the two? Because let's say that guy leaned into that pitch last night and the umpire automatically thinks he did that intentionally so the tying run can score. I mean, that's going to take, I'll say, guts to call that, even though he'd be right. He'd be spot on to call that and tell the batter, "You're staying here. You're not scoring." He intentionally leaned into that. How do you separate the two? What's the difference between one and two?
Well, again, I don't think, a lot of guys will stick their elbow out. They'll
Yeah.
do it. Uh,
Lenny Dykstra was good for that. Wally Backman was good for that. Jason Kendall was good for that. There's a lot of guys out there that are gritty guys that will, quote unquote, take one for the team. And you could probably put the tape on and all those, maybe like 90 or 95% of them, you could easily say he shouldn't have been awarded first base.
yeah, I mean, if that guy got hit on that pitch, they were going to give him first base. I mean, that pitch was a slider that was diving in on him. And I think he would have got hit, but your natural instinct is to get out of the way. It's not to stand there and get hit. Now, what I do see though is that was a slider. If it's a righty up and there's a fastball boring in on you, I've seen a lot of guys kind of just take it on that elbow pad. They wear enough armor that they could be in the Army with all the armor they have on. And but yeah, you don't see that called very often in Major League Baseball. We used to see it not even so much in high school, but we saw it a lot in college baseball. Because guys are tough. They don't get out of the way. And the ump will say, "You didn't make an attempt. You have to make an attempt."
Baseball players are trying to wear a uniform similar to an NFL or a college player. So much armor and padding on them, so that they don't feel any kind of hit. They're wearing elbow pads and shin guards.
Oh no, it takes them 10 minutes to get all the guards off them by the time they get to first base. So it's a different game. Roberto Clemente hit 320 lifetime, and he never wore batting gloves. And today, oh my God. It's a different game, Ronnie. Everything's different about it in all of the sports, truth be told, but I kind of liked pro football when they sloshed around in the mud, at Municipal Stadium up in Cleveland. And, today all the fields are synthetic. In fact, the Steelers took all kind of heat because Boswell attempted a field goal and the footing was so bad that he fell down when he tried to kick it, and the people were going nuts and calling the Rooney's cheap. And, but if you remember what those fields used to look like, it was a mud bath, and I kind of miss that stuff.
They wouldn't have any complaints if they just install field turf. I get it. People are saying Achilles and ACLs. Okay, you can't complain. If you're going to say that, you cannot complain about field turf and the guy slipping. Field turf's your answer. You put it in before the season, you're done. You put grass in every 3 weeks or whatever. Got to put new grass in.
They're resodding Acrisure Stadium because of that incident with Boswell last week. Yeah, because they said the field was a mess. But I remember when I was in college one time, I did a research paper on AstroTurf, the stuff that used to be an outdoor carpet over blacktop, and all of the issues that they had with it, the heat that used to be generated from it, how hard it was, the scrapes. The guys used to wear tape on their elbows and arms, or they would be like filleted fish at the end of the game. And the new stuff's a lot better than the old stuff. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Gillette's Stadium put in field turf years ago after the Patriots lost the home game to the Jets. It was a low scoring game, like 10-7 or 7-3, something like that. And Brady got sacked, I don't know how many times, because he didn't have his footing. And the coaching staff said, we're putting field turf in next week. I don't know if they did it that game or, for the next game or for at the end of the year, but they got to the bottom of it and said, that's not going to happen.
There are very few grass fields left.
Yeah.
I mean, Acrisure Stadium has got to be one of the few that have it, especially when you play football in the Northeast. Are you serious? The beating that those fields take weather-wise. Yeah, very few. I'd be anxious to know how many natural grass fields are left in the NFL. So that'll be a research topic for us next week, my brother. But good guy, bad guy sports, you actually behaved yourself a lot more than you normally do, even though you were pushed over the edge a couple of times. I mean, you called like Clayton Kershaw one of the greatest pitchers, first Hall of Famer. You called him like a bad name. I want you to look at his stats. They weren't as good as his regular season stats, but they weren't nearly as bad as Barry Bonds' stats. So when you see Clayton Kershaw, you owe him an apology.
I don't want him pitching in the playoffs. That's for sure.
All right. If you're the manager, you get to make that call.
Yeah, I would make that call. So, all right. And just remember, when you take all your equipment off, for baseball players when they're running down to first, they got to wait to get the two oven mitts on their hands too, and they got to wait for the bat boy to come after he gets his frozen pizza out of the oven. They can put those oven mitts on when they run.
That's ridiculous too. I don't know what that's all about. I dove headfirst my whole life. I never jammed anything. I did just check. NFL stadiums, there's 30 teams, 15 are natural, 15 are artificial turf. So it's 15-15.
There's 32 teams in the NFL.
No, 30 NFL stadiums, 32 Major League Baseball teams, 30 NFL teams.
Yeah, because the two stadiums that are multi is the Chargers and Rams share a stadium, and the Jets and Giants.
Oh, okay. So there's 32 teams, and you're right, but 30 fields, right?
And the other thing is, how are they classifying it? Because the Death Star, as it's known, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas and Arizona, they're one and the same. They have like a tray that slides out of the stadium, and they slide
back in. 13 are natural grass, and two stadiums, Lambeau Field and Philadelphia Lincoln Financial, are hybrid grass.
Yeah,
half grass and half artificial.
Okay.
Okay, my man, I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. I educated you a little bit on Major League Baseball and hit by pitch rules. I'm glad you confirmed it with me.
We'll have to make this a regular occurrence. Good guy, bad guy sports. I listen to a lot of podcasts. We're way better than some of those guys. I'll tell you that.